The vastness of space surrounded the UES Harmony as it drifted toward the massive Tylari vessel. Earth had changed much since the Unification Wars. Humans now lived on Mars and Europa, building cities under domes and inside mountain ranges. Ships carried food, medicine, and people between worlds every day. Dr. Jia Kim stood at the viewport watching the alien ship grow larger. She was young for such an important mission, only 25, but her work on comparing different life forms had impressed everyone at the Korean Peninsula Research Institute. "Nervous?" asked Captain Lee, stepping beside her. Jia nodded. "A little. I've studied unusual life forms all my career, but nothing like this." The Tylari had appeared suddenly 3 months ago. Their message was simple. "We come in peace and wish to know your people." Their ship was beautiful, shaped like a spiral shell that glowed with blue-green light. 12 humans had been chosen to meet the aliens first. Jia kept touching the small photo of her parents in her pocket. Before leaving Earth, she had hugged them tightly. "This is the opportunity of a lifetime," she had told them. "I'll be back before you know it." Now, as the Harmony prepared to dock, with the alien vessel, she felt both excitement and fear. The docking went smoothly. Captain Lee led the team to the airlock. "Remember your training," he said. "Follow first contact protocols. We represent all of humanity today." The door slid open. 3 Tylari waited for them. They stood tall on 4 legs, their bodies covered in smooth blue scales. They had 4 arms and round heads with large dark eyes. "Welcome," said the tallest one, its voice coming through the translation device. "We are pleased to meet humans face to face." The first days went well. The humans were given comfortable rooms and shown around parts of the ship. Jia took samples and made notes about Tylari biology. They seemed friendly, asking many questions about Earth and human customs. On the 5th day, Jia noticed something strange. The questions were becoming more focused on human weaknesses. How much radiation could humans tolerate? How long without water? What toxins affected human bodies most quickly? She mentioned her concerns to Captain Lee that night. "Something feels wrong," she said. "Their questions are changing." "You're being paranoid," he replied. "This is their way of understanding us." That night, Jia couldn't sleep. She left her room and walked to the ship's lab to check her samples. As she passed an unmarked door, she heard a human scream. Heart racing, she pressed her ear against the door. More screams. Using her access card, she hacked the door open. What she saw made her stomach turn. 2 members of their team lay on tables, cut open while still alive. Tylari moved around them, taking samples and making notes. A Tylari spotted her and moved quickly toward the door. Jia ran. Alarms blared throughout the ship. She raced through corridors trying to reach the Harmony. 2 more team members ran with her, but Tylari guards caught them. Jia kept going. She reached the docking bay just as armed Tylari poured in from another entrance. The Harmony was still connected, but all the humans who had stayed aboard were dead, their bodies being carried out by Tylari. Jia slipped into an escape pod. Her hands shook as she activated the launch sequence. Laser fire hit the pod as it ejected, damaging the engines and communication system. The small craft tumbled away from the Tylari ship. Through the viewport, Jia watched in horror as the Harmony exploded. The Tylari had destroyed it, removing all evidence of the human delegation. Jia cried as the damaged pod drifted through space. Its life support systems were failing. She recorded everything she had seen, saving it to the pod's black box. Someone needed to know what happened. For 6 months, the pod floated through the solar system. Jia spent most of this time in the pod's small cryosleep chamber, which kept her alive despite the limited supplies. Each time she woke, she checked the systems and added to her recordings. "They're studying us," she said in one recording, "learning how to hurt us. This wasn't about peace. They're planning something." During her last period of consciousness, the pod's systems were nearly dead. Earth appeared in the viewport, growing larger. The pod's emergency systems had guided it home. The entry into Earth's atmosphere was rough. The heat shield was damaged, and the cabin temperature rose dangerously. Gia passed out as the pod crashed in the Australian outback. A mining crew found the pod 3 hours later. When they opened it, they found Gia barely alive. Her body showed signs of self-surgery. She had removed tracking devices the Talari had implanted in her arm and leg. Her notebook contained detailed drawings of Talari technology and biology. The medical team that arrived was shocked. Besides her self-inflicted wounds, Gia's body showed evidence of alien experimentation. Surgical scars crossed her torso and back. Tissue samples had been taken from multiple organs. Neural probes had been inserted into her spine and brain. They loaded her onto the medical transport. Gia briefly regained consciousness. She grabbed a doctor's arm with surprising strength. "They're coming," she whispered. "They know where we live. They know how to hurt us." Then she slipped back into unconsciousness as the transport raced toward the nearest hospital, carrying the only survivor of humanity's first contact and the terrible warning she brought home. The white walls of the medical room felt like a prison to Gia. 3 weeks had passed since her escape pod crashed in Australia. Her body was healing, but her mind remained trapped in darkness. The New Seoul Medical Center kept her in a special wing away from other patients. Guards stood outside her door day and night. They said it was for her protection, but Gia wondered if they feared what she might say. Dr. Hante entered her room each morning at exactly 9 o'clock. He was older, with kind eyes and gentle hands that never moved suddenly. Gia appreciated this. Sudden movements made her flinch now. "How are you feeling today?" he asked, setting up his equipment. "The same," Gia replied. "I still can't sleep without seeing them." Dr. Han nodded. He had developed a new therapy for trauma victims. Small electrodes attached to Gia's temples would help her access memories without the overwhelming fear. "We'll go slowly," he said. "Stop me if it becomes too much." The first sessions revealed little. Gia remembered the initial meeting with the Talari, the tours of their ship, the friendly conversations. But whenever they approached the moment when everything changed, her mind shut down. On the 10th day of therapy, something broke through. "They were watching us," Gia whispered, her eyes closed as the machine hummed softly. "When we thought they were being kind, they were studying us, like insects." Dr. Han stayed silent, letting her continue. "I found 2 of our team on tables, cut open." Tears leaked from beneath her closed eyelids. Sun and Mina, they were still alive, screaming. The Talari were testing pain responses. The recording devices captured every word. In the observation room, military officials leaned forward, listening intently. Over the next week, more memories surfaced. Gia described how the Talari had captured each human separately, conducting different experiments on each one. "They were never interested in peace," she whispered during one painful session. "They lured us there to study us, to find our weaknesses." Dr. Han carefully guided her through each memory. "What happened after you saw your colleagues?" "I ran. They chased me. I reached the docking bay and saw our ship. Everyone on board was already dead. I took an escape pod, but they damaged it during launch." As Gia's full story emerged, Earth's military leaders grew more concerned. General Do-sung visited the facility to hear directly from Dr. Han. "Is she stable enough to help us?" the general asked. "She's fragile, but determined," Dr. Han replied. "She wants to protect Earth." The next day, Gia was shown images of strange technology found in her escape pod. "I stole this," she said, pointing to a small crystal device. "It contains their data on Earth. I took it from their command center during my escape." Military intelligence spent weeks decoding the crystal. What they found confirmed their worst fears. The Talari had been monitoring Earth for decades, placing hidden satellites throughout the solar system. "I was the only one who escaped," Gia told the team of scientists and military officers who came to interview her. Tears streamed down her face. They didn't expect humans to be so resilient. They thought we would break easily. The crystal contained more than just surveillance data. It held battle plans, targeting information for Earth's major cities, and biological weapons designed specifically for humans. 4 weeks after Gia's return, Long-range sensors detected movement at the edge of the solar system. A fleet of Tylari ships was approaching, much larger than the single vessel that had made first contact. At Earth Defense Headquarters, analysts calculated their arrival time. 3 months at current speed, reported Colonel Yun to General Do. The general looked at the holographic display showing the approaching fleet. 50 ships, each larger than anything Earth had built. How many people know about this, he asked. Only those in this room and the highest levels of government, Colonel Yun replied. We've maintained information control to prevent panic. General Do nodded. Gather the Defense Council immediately. 12 men and women assembled in the underground chamber beneath New Beijing. They represented Earth's combined military forces. Jia sat at the table with them, still thin and pale, but determined to help. Dr. Han stayed by her side, monitoring her stress levels. The situation is clear, General Do began. We face an enemy with superior technology and numbers who has studied us carefully and plans our extinction. Holographic displays showed Earth's defenses, orbital platforms, the fleet of battle cruisers, ground-based weapon systems. None would be enough against the coming threat. Our conventional forces cannot win this fight, General Do continued. The Tylari know our capabilities and have planned accordingly. Then we're doomed, said Admiral Wang. Not necessarily, General Do replied. There is one asset the Tylari don't know about because it predates their monitoring of Earth. He entered a command code and a new hologram appeared. Deep beneath a mountain range was a massive facility unknown to the public. Project Lazarus, General Do explained, initiated after the Lunar Wars 60 years ago. Jia leaned forward. What is it? Our last resort. 10,000 soldiers in cryogenic sleep, veterans from our most brutal war, enhanced with technology, we later banned. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. These soldiers had volunteered for experimental procedures, neural implants, bone reinforcements, genetic modifications. These enhancements were deemed too extreme for ethical use, Admiral Wang said. The public would never accept such measures. The public won't survive to object if we don't use every advantage, General Do countered. Jia spoke up, her voice stronger than it had been in weeks. The Tylari believe humans are weak. They think we'll be easy to conquer because they've studied our limits. She pointed to the hologram of the cryo facility. But they haven't studied these soldiers. They don't know what humans are truly capable of when pushed to extremes. General Do looked at each council member. We have 3 months to prepare. I need unanimous agreement to activate Protocol Lazarus. One by one, they voted. The decision was made. We have one option, General Do announced grimly. Activate Protocol Lazarus. As Jia left the council chamber, Dr. Han walked beside her. You all right? He asked. Jia looked at her scarred hands. No, but I will be. When they pay for what they did to us. The elevator descended deep into the mountain, carrying General Do, Jia, and a team of technicians. The digital display showed they had passed 1 kilometer below the surface and were still going down. The air grew cooler with each passing minute. How long has this place existed? Jia asked, trying to steady her nerves. It was built after the Lunar Wars, General Do replied. When Earth finally united, we hoped we would never need these soldiers again. The elevator stopped with a gentle chime. The doors opened to reveal a vast underground complex carved directly into the rock of Mount Pektu. Lights automatically activated as they stepped into a long corridor. Welcome to Lazarus Base, General Do said. Only 20 people alive today knew of its existence until this week. They passed through security checkpoints where ancient systems scanned their retinas and fingerprints. Finally, they reached a massive circular chamber. The walls were lined with thousands of sleek metal pods, each containing a single human form visible through a small window. 10,000 soldiers. General Do explained, the best fighters from the Lunar Wars. They volunteered for experimental enhancements and cryosleep when the technology was new. Jia walked between the rows of sleeping soldiers. Their faces showed no signs of aging, frozen in time for over 6 decades. What kind of enhancements? She asked. neural combat interfaces that connect directly to weapon systems, reinforced skeletal structures that can withstand impacts that would shatter normal bones, improved lung capacity for low oxygen environments, modifications that would be considered unethical today, but were necessary then. A team of doctors and engineers worked at a central control station. One of them approached General Doe. "We're ready to begin the revival process for the first subject," she said. General Doe nodded. "Proceed." Gia watched as they activated one of the pods. Steam hissed from vents as the temperature inside slowly increased. Vital signs appeared on nearby monitors: heart rate, brain activity, oxygen levels, all gradually rising from near zero to normal human ranges. The pod marked Colonel Jin Park 5th Lunar Battalion opened with a soft hydraulic sound. Inside lay a man who appeared to be in his 30s, though Gia knew he must be much older chronologically. His black hair was cut short in a military style. A thin scar ran from his left temple to his jaw. For several minutes, nothing happened. Then his eyes opened suddenly, dark and alert, taking in the room with immediate awareness. He sat up in a single fluid motion that seemed too quick and precise for someone who had been asleep for decades. "Colonel Park," General Doe said, stepping forward. "Welcome back." Jin's voice was rough from disuse. "How long?" 63 years. Jin nodded, showing no surprise or distress at this information. He swung his legs over the edge of the pod and stood. He should have been weak after such a long period of inactivity, but he moved with strength and control. "Why wake us?" he asked, simply. "Earth faces extinction," General Doe replied. Over the next week, more soldiers were awakened. They recovered quickly, their enhanced bodies adapting faster than normal humans would. They gathered in briefing rooms where General Doe explained the Tylari threat. Jin Park became their de facto leader. Though others held equal rank, the others naturally looked to him for guidance. He had been a legendary tactician during the Lunar Wars, known for impossible victories against overwhelming odds. Gia was brought to the facility to share what she knew about the enemy. The first time she entered a room full of Lazarus soldiers, she froze. Their stillness, their focused attention, it reminded her of the clinical way the Telari had observed her. Jin noticed her discomfort. "We may look strange to you," he said, "but we're still human. We fight for Earth just as you do." His words helped. Gia began regular briefings, showing the soldiers everything she had learned about their enemy. "Their exoskeletons have a weakness at the joint connections," she explained during one session, projecting detailed images she had drawn from memory, "and they're highly sensitive to ultraviolet radiation. Even brief exposure causes them pain." Jin asked practical questions that helped her organize her thoughts. How do they see? What weapons do they prefer? How do they communicate in battle? Yourself. By day, Gia's nightmares receded as she focused on the work. The soldiers treated her with respect, understanding that her knowledge was their best advantage against the coming threat. One evening, Jin found Gia alone in the briefing room, staring at images of Telari ships. "You should rest," he said. "I can't," she replied. "Whenever I close my eyes, I'm back on their ship." Jin sat across from her. "I understand trauma. The Lunar Wars weren't clean or quick. Many of us volunteered for Lazarus because we couldn't adjust to peacetime. How do you handle it?" Gia asked. "Focus on the next step, the next task. Don't look at the whole mountain, just the path directly ahead." Gia studied him. "You don't seem bothered by waking up 60 years in the future. We were prepared for it, and soldiers adapt. It's what we do." Their conversations became a nightly routine. Jin shared stories of the world Gia had only read about in history books. She told him about growing up in a peaceful, united Earth. "It seems our sacrifice was worth it," he said once. "We fought so future generations wouldn't have to. And now we're asking you to fight again," Gia said sadly. "That's why we exist. To face threats others can't." As more soldiers awakened, training began in massive underground chambers. They practiced with modern weapons, learning to integrate with current military systems. Their movements were faster, more precise than regular soldiers. Their neural implants allowed them to react instantaneously to threats. Gia watched Jin during combat simulations. He moved with lethal grace, his enhanced reflexes and strength making him seem almost superhuman. Yet in their evening conversations, he showed a thoughtfulness that surprised her. 2 months after the First Awakening, 8,000 Lazarus soldiers were active and preparing for war. The Telari fleet had passed Jupiter's orbit, destroying the research stations there. Time was running out. "Do you think we can win?" Gia asked Jin as they reviewed battle plans. "I think we can surprise them," he replied. And surprise is a powerful advantage. Gia realized something had changed within her. The helpless fear was gone, replaced by determination. Between the traumatized scientist and the man out of time, an understanding had grown, a shared purpose that transcended their different worlds. "They think they know what humans are capable of," Jin said. "We're going to show them how wrong they are." The Europa colony sent the warning first. Their long-range sensors detected the Telari fleet crossing Jupiter's orbit. 12 massive ships, each one larger than the biggest human vessel ever built. "They're heading for Jupiter Station," reported the colony's commander. The station orbiting Jupiter housed 8,000 people, scientists, engineers, and their families. It was the furthest permanent human settlement from Earth. There was no time to evacuate. The Telari ships surrounded the station and opened fire without attempting communication. The station broke apart in minutes, pieces scattering into Jupiter's swirling clouds. No escape pods were launched, no survivors. The images reached Earth within hours. In the underground war room beneath New Beijing, military leaders watched in horror. "They want us to see this," General Doe said quietly. "They want us to be afraid." Jin Park stood nearby, his face showing no emotion. 6,000 Lazarus soldiers had already been deployed to Earth's orbital defense platforms. Another 2,000 waited in stealth ships hidden throughout the solar system. "Is your team ready, Colonel?" General Doe asked. Jin nodded. "We launch in 30 minutes. The plan was simple but dangerous. While Earth's conventional forces engaged the Telari fleet directly, drawing their attention, Jin would lead a small team of 20 Lazarus soldiers to infiltrate the Telari command ship. Their objective: disable the enemy's coordination systems, throwing their fleet into disarray. Gia sat at a communication station, reviewing ship schematics she had drawn from memory. She would guide Jin's team remotely, using her knowledge of Telari vessel layouts. "Be careful," she told Jin as he prepared to leave. "Always am," he replied with a slight smile. "See you when it's over." Jin's stealth ship was unlike anything built before. Black as space itself, with heat-absorbing materials that made it nearly invisible to sensors. Inside, 20 Lazarus soldiers checked their gear one final time. "Our target is their command ship," Jin briefed them. "We enter through a maintenance hatch near the propulsion section, make our way to the central command, and deploy the disruptor device. Questions?" There were none. These soldiers had fought in the most brutal war humanity had ever known. They understood the mission. The ship launched silently, accelerating toward Mars orbit where the Telari fleet would pass. They would have one chance to attach to the command vessel without being detected. On Earth, every available defense system was activated. Orbital platforms armed their railguns and laser arrays. The United Earth Fleet, 300 ships of various sizes, moved into defensive positions. "They're entering Mars orbit," reported a sensor operator. The Telari fleet moved with perfect coordination, spread out in a formation that maximized their firing coverage. Behind them, the wreckage of Jupiter Station served as a grim warning. "All units engage on my mark," ordered Admiral Kwan, Supreme Commander of Earth's forces. 3, 2, 1 mark. Space lit up with weapons fire. Earth's ships launched everything they had, aiming for the smaller Telari vessels at the edges of their formation. The Telari returned fire with strange energy weapons that seemed to bend around conventional shields. The battle quickly became chaotic. Human ships exploded under the overwhelming firepower of the aliens. Yet they fought bravely, drawing the Tylari attention away from Jin's approaching stealth vessel. "We're in position," Jin reported through a secure quantum channel that couldn't be intercepted. Preparing to attach. His ship maneuvered silently toward the massive Tylari command vessel. Up close, it resembled a giant spiral shell, glowing with blue-green light. They located a maintenance hatch near the engine section, just as Gia had described. "Attachment successful," Jin reported. "Beginning entry procedure." Using cutting tools designed based on Gia's information about Tylari hull materials, they created an opening. The team entered in pairs, weapons ready. Inside, the environment was different from human ships. The corridors curved organically, and the lighting pulsed slowly, like a heartbeat. The air was thicker, with a strange smell. "Gia, we're inside," Jin whispered into his communicator. "Guide us." Back on Earth, Gia studied the feed from Jin's helmet camera. "You need to move forward 3 junctions, then turn right. Their central command should be 3 levels down from your entry point." Jin signaled his team forward. They moved silently, their enhanced vision allowing them to see clearly in the dim light. The first Tylari patrol they encountered never saw them coming. The soldiers used silent weapons, taking down 4 aliens without raising an alarm. "Be careful of the atmospheric differences in that section," Gia warned as they descended. "They keep the command level oxygen-rich for their leaders. It's highly flammable." The team adjusted their equipment accordingly. As they approached the command level, resistance increased. More Tylari patrols roamed the corridors, and security systems became more evident. "They know someone's aboard," Jin realized. "Move faster." The first real firefight erupted 2 corridors from the command center. A dozen Tylari guards opened fire with energy weapons that melted through cover. The Lazarus soldiers responded with precision, their enhanced reflexes allowing them to dodge energy blasts that would have killed normal humans. "Push through," Jin ordered, firing his weapon with perfect accuracy despite the chaos. The Tylari seemed shocked by the humans' abilities. They were fighting in an environment designed for alien physiology, yet showing no signs of weakness. "They expect us to break," Jin told his team as they fought their way forward. "But we were literally made for this moment." 3 soldiers fell during the advance, their enhanced bodies reaching their limits. The remaining team fought with even greater determination, honoring their fallen comrades. Finally, they reached the command center doors. 2 soldiers placed breaching charges while the others provided cover fire. "Charges set," reported Sergeant Min. "Breach on my mark," Jin ordered. 3, 2, 1 mark. The doors blew inward. The team rushed through the smoke, firing at the Tylari commanders inside. Unlike the soldiers they had faced, these Tylari were larger, with elaborate shell-like structures on their backs. "Find the coordination nexus," Jin ordered. "It should look like a crystal pillar." They fought through the command center, pushing back the surprised Tylari leaders. In the center of the room stood a tall crystal structure pulsing with light, exactly as Gia had described. "Target acquired," Jin reported. "Deploying disruptor." He placed a device against the crystal. It was designed based on the technology Gia had stolen, a virus that would corrupt the Tylari fleet's coordination systems. "Device active," Jin confirmed. "Beginning extraction." Across the solar system, the battle had turned desperate for humanity. Earth's fleet was down to less than 100 ships. The orbital platforms had suffered heavy damage. The Tylari advanced relentlessly toward Earth. Then suddenly, the alien ships began to move erratically. Their perfect formation broke apart. Some ships fired on their own allies in confusion. In the war room, Gia watched the tactical display, with hope rising in her heart. "It's working," she whispered. "Jin did it." The disruptor device pulsed with blue light as it attached to the crystal pillar. Jin and his remaining soldiers formed a defensive circle, fighting off waves of Tylari guards. The alien commanders fled, their confidence shattered by the human infiltration. "How long until full effect?" Jin asked through his comlink. 30 seconds, Gia replied from Earth. "You need to get out now." The command center shook as explosions rocked the massive ship. Jin's team fought their way back toward their entry point carrying their wounded. 3 more soldiers fell during the retreat, their enhanced bodies finally reaching their limits. Throughout the solar system, the Telari fleet fell into chaos. Their perfect formation broke apart as ships lost connection with each other. Some fired randomly, hitting their own vessels. Others drifted aimlessly, their navigation systems corrupted by the virus. Earth's remaining ships, led by the Lazarus soldiers on the orbital platforms, launched a desperate counterattack. Sensing the aliens' confusion, Admiral Kwan ordered all forces forward, push them back, don't let them regroup. Jin's team reached their stealth ship with 9 survivors out of the original 20. As they detached from the Tylari command vessel, they watched it begin to break apart, secondary explosions tearing through its beautiful shell-like structure. Mission accomplished, Jin reported, as their ship accelerated away. Returning to Earth, the battle raged for 3 more days. Earth's forces gained momentum as more Telari ships fell to the combined assault. The remaining Lazarus soldiers led boarding parties, clearing alien vessels from the inside. Their enhanced bodies allowed them to fight in alien environments that would kill normal humans. By the 4th day, the Telari fleet was in full retreat. Admiral Kwan ordered pursuit, not willing to let any escape to report back. The chase continued, past Mars, past Jupiter, and finally beyond Pluto's orbit. There, the last Telari ships were destroyed or captured. Earth had won, but at terrible cost. Nearly 30% of the planet's space fleet was destroyed. Thousands of soldiers and crew had died. The Jupiter station and its 8,000 inhabitants were gone forever. In the aftermath, a sense of grim pride spread across Earth and its colonies. Humanity had faced its first interstellar threat and survived. A Tylari commander was captured, alive during the final battle. It was brought to a secure facility on Earth's moon for questioning. Translators worked for weeks to establish reliable communication. General Du and Jia attended the first successful interview. The alien sat across from them, its body supported by a special chair designed for its 4-legged form. Its large eyes blinked slowly as it studied the humans. "Why did you attack us?" General Do asked. The translator converted the question. The Tylari responded with clicks and whistles that the machine transformed into human speech. "Your kind spreads quickly. You adapt. You are dangerous." "We offered peace," Jia said, her voice steady despite facing a member of the species that had tortured her. "A test. You were supposed to be fragile," the alien said. "Easy to conquer. We did not expect such determination." The interrogations continued for months. Earth learned that the Telari were part of a coalition of species that controlled dozens of star systems. They had observed humanity for decades, watching our progress and judging our potential threat level. "They fear us because we're different," Jia explained to the Defense Council. "Their coalition species all evolved similar biology and psychology. Humans are unpredictable to them." 6 months after the battle, Earth began rebuilding. New defensive systems were constructed throughout the solar system. The colonies on Mars and Europa expanded, incorporating Telari technology adapted for human use. Jia established a new division at the Defense Council focused on understanding alien psychology and biology. Her experiences, though traumatic, provided humanity with knowledge that might save them from the next threat. "We need to understand them better than they understand us," she told her team of scientists. "That's our advantage." The Lazarus soldiers faced an uncertain future. They had been awakened for a specific purpose which they had fulfilled brilliantly. But they were relics from another time, enhanced in ways that made many modern humans uncomfortable. Some chose to return to cryosleep, to be awakened if needed again. Others joined Earth's new defense forces, training the next generation of soldiers. A few tried to build civilian lives, though their enhanced bodies and military mindsets made adjustment difficult. Jin chose to remain active, working with Jia's division as a military advisor. His tactical insights combined with her scientific knowledge created powerful new defensive strategies. One evening, Jin visited Gia at her research facility in New Seoul. They stood on the roof, looking up at the stars. New orbital defenses glinted in the night sky, reminders of humanity's vigilance. Any word from the deep space probes? Jin asked. Gia shook her head. Nothing yet. But the Tylari must have reported back to their coalition before the battle. They know we defeated their fleet. What do you think they'll send next? He asked, his enhanced eyes scanning the stars for any sign of danger. Something bigger. Something worse. Gia's expression was resolute as she turned to him. But it doesn't matter. We'll be ready. Jin nodded, understanding the bond they shared. A soldier out of time and a scientist who had survived horror, both forever changed by their experiences, both committed to protecting Earth. In cities across the planet, humans looked up at the same stars with new awareness. The universe contained dangers they had never imagined, but also opportunities for growth. Tylari technology had advanced human capabilities by decades. The colonies were expanding faster than ever. Earth had survived its trial by fire. Humanity had proven itself more resilient, more determined than its enemies expected. And in the vast darkness between the stars, that message was spreading. We will defend our own, no matter the cost. The end.